Hello and welcome to the webinar. My name is Mark Huber from AutoWebinarIncome.com. I'll be the host of today's webinar, Story Selling, the Art and Science of Turning Your Stories into Wealth. In our virtual studios today, I'm joined by Troy White, aka the Small Business Copywriter. Now, I've known Troy for many years, and he's constantly busy with his clients and various projects. So I'm delighted today that he's agreed to spend some time with us today and unveil his latest project live, which he's entitled Story Selling, the Art and Science of Turning Your Stories into Wealth. Now, I know we have a lot of people on the webinar today that are anticipating Troy and his comments and what he has in store for us. So we'll just jump right in. Troy, welcome to the webinar.
Thank you, Mark. It's a pleasure to be here, and it's always an honor to share some of my experiences with using stories in business and marketing. So I'm looking forward to this.
Awesome.
So let's get right to it here. Today we're here to talk about how anybody, every single entrepreneur out there can and should be using their stories, and I'll get into how you do that, but using stories in their business. And why do you want to do such a thing? Well, in today's market, people are looking for something different. They're not looking for the same old. There's so much clutter out there that it becomes increasingly difficult for them to decide who are they going to buy from. So they look for the one company that seems different from the rest. And what I have discovered over the past 11 years of working with entrepreneurs in their marketing campaigns is that a good story trumps everything else. And we'll go through some of the statistics to back up my claims, but a good story can outsell facts, feeds, and feeds any day of the week. So, this is how the average small business owner can gain a competitive advantage with something that doesn't cost them anything and something that they all have there. They just need to learn how to tap into it and then also how to use it. So I love this little cartoon. I just wanted to share. Your resume begins once upon a time. I like that. Everybody loves a good story, and we were, since little babies, we've been told stories, we grow up with stories, and as adults, we love a good story. Everybody loves a good story. And it's engaging, and I think that's the big difference, is that it pulls people into your business, and you release some of your personality into your marketing. And, Dan Kennedy is a guy that I've done a lot of training under, and he said this at a conference I was at about a year ago now. He said, people don't buy stuff, they buy stories. And how true is that? I mean, for all of you listening, think about the things, products, services you bought, and when it's a good product and service, don't you just love to share the story of, the experience or the product and how it was packaged? I mean, we all love to share it, but it's really hard to find a good story to share. So we're going to cover some of these ideas here today. David Ogilvy, famous, one of the grandfathers of the advertising business. No one ever sold anything by boring them to death. And yet, if you look at most marketing, that's what people are trying to do. Anne McCaffrey, tell me a story without a story. You're merely using words to prove you can string them together in logical sense. A story is a fantastic way to start any kind of marketing piece, any kind of article, blog post, Twitter, you name it, this fits perfectly in with it. So I'll give you just a very quick background on myself. For the past 10 and a half years now, I have been a copywriter, and what that means to anybody that doesn't know is I take words and I put them together, and I call it turning words into wealth, but I create marketing campaigns. Those are online campaigns, offline campaigns, direct mail, website, Google, pay-per-click, Facebook, anything that's needed to grow small business revenues or to attract leads and that. So I have worked with, I don't even know where it is anymore. It's probably like 40-some different industries I've worked with. I've helped my clients make millions of dollars. We'll go through some of the case studies today. Using stories, I've been honored to meet guys like Gene Simmons here. You'll see this picture here. Gene and I at a Dan Kennedy event, and then I wrote some articles about Gene, and he put them up on his website. I'm a father of twin, now 11-year-old girls, soon to be 12, so that keeps me hopping. And, of course, the gray hairs keep it growing with twin preteen daughters. And I love marketing. I mean, I'm a self-confessed marketing geek. I just absolutely love everything about marketing and advertising. So, through all of my trials and errors and learning and that, I discovered that stories are really one of those secret assets that most people don't understand they have. And here's some interesting numbers that I just wanted to quickly go through. 2% of the sales that you're going to get will come on the first contact. So people come to your site, or they come into your store if you have a retail store. 2% of your total sales come from that first point of contact. 81%, though, of your sales come after 5 contacts. And so that's an important number, because the second part is 48% quit right after their first call, so they're missing out on 98% of their sales. And only 10% of your competitors go beyond 5 pieces of communication with a prospect. So, why is this important? Well, people need to be kept in contact. They need to be engaged with your business. They need to be given tools and things that they can use to compel them to buy. And in order to do that, you can't bore them to death. So you have to keep articles and blog posts and so on in front of them that are engaging, that are interesting, that are fun. And so, when 90% of people quit before 81% of the sales are made, it's a golden opportunity. And so we'll go through, how do you tap into this opportunity for stories? So, why do we want to use them? I went through some of the different reasons. It's very engaging. It is proven to work throughout time, right from the cave drawings. It stands out from all of the clutter out there. It's personal versus corporate. I'm going to show you, for those of you that are in the business-to-business space, so selling to business people versus the consumers at home, I'm going to go through some examples of what you can do and how effective this is, especially in business-to-business, because I get a lot of complaint. Well, this doesn't work. That's too hokey. I'm selling to professionals, that CEOs and blah, blah, blah. You know what? I'll show you a case study today that shows the exact opposite, that the professional corporate types are actually hungry for you to personalize your marketing through stories. And I'll show you an example of that. People want a good story. As I said, they love to share a good story. Give them something to share with their friends, their family, on their Facebook pages. And that's how you create fans and followings and so on. And of course, with Facebook, with Twitter, and blogs, and iPads, and you name it, it's very, very easy for people to share a good experience with you or a great story that they found. Great story selling automatically builds in a higher price. Look at Apple, right? I mean, yes, they make good products, but everybody loves the Apple story, and people want to be part of that Apple community. And yes, their prices are by far a premium. I don't know percentage-wise what they are over their competitors, but they charge a premium, and they get a premium because it's a good story. People love the Apple story. They love the Apple product story. And I'll go through lots of different examples today, too, about other companies that use it. The press loves a good story. This picture here, the perfect 10 of a day on the right here, these are my daughters. They were born on 10-10-0-0, so on 10-10-10, a couple years ago now, I did a little PR blitz, and it had nothing to do with my business, just that the fact that I love my daughters, and they've got a very unusual, unique birthday. So I got in touch with the newspapers, and lo and behold, they not only did a full-page Calgary Herald article on them, they put their pictures on there. I mean, it was fantastic. The press loves a good story. They're hungry for it. That entire newspaper, online or offline, needs to be filled up every day. And if you've got a great story that the press likes, you've got free marketing, right? Free marketing and advertising right there. There's a study that was done by Carnegie Mellon, which is a huge research firm, and they had, I can't remember the total numbers of people, but it was a lot of people that were broken up into different groups. And the goal was donations to a charity. And so one group was told the facts about the charity, the need, and it was a lot about a third world country and specifically a very small community. And they told all the, the type, the living conditions and the lack of water and so on. So they basically shared the facts, the feeds and the speeds about the charity. And then they watched how many people donated and how much money they donated to that charity. The second group, they told the story of little Rosie, who was a little girl in the community, and what happened during her typical day while she looked after her mother, and, went to get water and scrounged up what food they can, and saw, what type of donations they got in. The story-based campaign generated 248% more income to the charity. So the story sold 248% more than the facts, feeds, and speeds. So they thought, well, I bet you if we use feeds and seeds plus a story, we could do even better, right? Kind of makes sense. It feeds to the left brain types. Give me the numbers, give me the statistics, and then it goes to the right brains that love a good story. But what they found is, yes, it did increase over pure facts, but it was by far less than pure story. So adding in the facts definitely increases it, but a pure story, a well-written story, can sell, in this case, 250%, 248% more just by telling a good story. So I just wanted to share some different quick examples of people that I've worked with or things that I've done. Fran is a client of mine that has a skincare company, and it had been a startup company when we first started working, and they were averaging probably $1,000 a month online sales. A lot of it was done offline too. She took a story selling coaching program that I used to offer live, and she started using stories, and she told a story about how her and her daughter started this company and how they created this product, this all-natural anti-wrinkle, anti-aging cream. And she created a multi-step campaign, which I told her how to do. $1,000 days were now becoming common. So what used to be a monthly income was now a daily income. Amish. Simply Amish is a high-end furniture manufacturer who the Amish make the furniture, and then they send it out to the different franchise stores that are all over. And I've worked with a few of these franchise stores, and one of them we launched in Edmonton, Alberta. And I'll give some examples later about how I created the story campaign, but we did $60,000 in sales in their first month without any major publicity, without any major advertising costs. We just told some stories in the community and let the viral part of storytelling take over. And we did well over $1 million in their first year. A very, very successful launch of a brand new story, a brand new market that had never even heard of these guys. Wild West Wealth was a brand that I created. It was a seminar series I did for 2 years. And I live in Calgary, Alberta, and some of you may know, some of you may not. Calgary has this thing called the Calgary Stampede. It takes place once a year. It's a 10-day event. It's a big rodeo, midway, carnival, all kinds of stuff going on. But, the Wild West, everyone's been intrigued by it. They make movies, about the Wild West all the time. And I thought, what a neat, and another unique thing about Calgary, the whole city dresses up for this 10-day event. Everything's just decked out Western. People dress up for it. I thought, the Wild West is kind of what's going on in the economy right now. I thought, what if I could create a seminar that was themed to the way the city was decorated? So I created the Wild West Wealth Summit. And I held it right before the Stampede started. So all these people came in from out of town, and I had the whole city decorated for my event. It was a very successful 2-year campaign that was based on telling stories of the Wild West and how the pioneers and how they found gold and how they created businesses and so on and so on. Chris was a guy that came to Wild West in 2007. He came there with a business that was making him okay money, but he wasn't happy. So he kind of took everything he learned away from the Wild West event and went back and recreated a new business, his dream business, we'll say. And since then, he is now, I don't know what his recent numbers is. It's been a few months now since I've talked to him, but last time I talked, this number actually I'm realizing is old. He is doing, it was $2.1 million a year last time I talked to him in a business he absolutely loves. He works less, has fun. He's still under 30 years old, I believe, has a beachfront house, his dream home, living the life he's always wanted. And how? He created his ideal business, and it's based on his passion. And so he started telling a story about why this business, why him, why now. And he created this multi-million-dollar business by telling a good story. Ellie Drake was a client. I created copy, and I helped them launch their online website. She had a fantastic story, came to the United States and couldn't even speak English at the time, and her parents had so we found her story, her core story, and we started sharing it in our campaigns, and we just did fantastic on her website launch, $1.2 million in 9 months. Roller coaster test pilot with a lady that was in a network marketing skincare product company, and she was trying to do marketing like everyone else. She was, making $1,000 an hour selling skin cream. And I said, everybody does that. It's nothing. So I started asking her questions about where she came from, how she got here. I found out that as a teenager, she was a roller coaster test pilot. At the time, I didn't even know there was such a thing, but that's what she did. So we created a campaign, and the headline was around this roller coaster test pilot idea. Very unusual, very nothing to do with skin cream at all. But you know what? It worked, and she had all kinds of leads coming in, and anytime she needs a lead, she just ran into ad with the roller coaster test pilot. Ron LeGrand, some of you may know if you're in the real estate business. He's one of the most famous real estate trainers in the world. But how did he get there? I mean, in his peak, he had 3 Learjets. He was doing tens of millions of dollars in revenue, and he came to the calling of a real estate trainer as an ex-car mechanic. He got fed up. He, went to a real estate seminar, started figuring this out, made a bunch of money, and then he started telling his story. He says, I was broke. I was a car mechanic. I was fed up with it, and my body was breaking down. And he told that story everywhere, religiously, and it created this aura around him that people loved. And it made him a lot of money. He lives a very enviable lifestyle and has had a blast doing it. Toby's Terms, another client of mine, she had a dog. The dog has now passed away, named Toby, and she had a book named Toby's Terms. And I won't get into the story about it, but Toby was a very interesting dog, and my headline for it was Toby makes Marley look like Mother Teresa. And, if you saw the movie Marley and Me, Toby was, 10 times worse than Marley was. So anyhow, we used the whole campaign around this. We made her book a bestseller on Amazon, and now it's going to be a Hollywood movie, all based on a great story. So one good story-based campaign can make you thousands of dollars quickly. Think about if you can get one story and then leverage it every single month, like every single year. Think about the difference that can make in your business. There's different ways to use stories. You can make it into your packaging, like the Moleskine journals. They have a little notebook inside that tells the story of their brand. And Ernest Hemingway used these books and so on. So they actually put their story inside the product so everyone sees it every single time. Tilly hats is the very same. They have a high-priced, $100 hat that people all over the world that are travelers love. And they've got this little pocket on the inside of the hat where you can they have these little, they call them brag tags, where people, they say, what a nice hat. And you take off your hat, you take out a brag tag, and it tells the Tilly story on a little card. So these two companies have mastered the ability to tell a story mixed into the packaging. You can be the story. Peter Kinjo is a guy that owns a sushi chain here in Calgary. And it is about Peter Kinjo. He is a story in itself. I won't elaborate on it, but I've written a number of stories about him. He creates a story he creates buzz, excitement, and a story every time someone comes and visits, and has been very, very successful running these sushi restaurants. The Hugging Butcher, another one. They were a failing butcher shop. They went to a seminar. They went to a seminar put on by my mentor, who's Ted Nicholas. And Ted they went for lunch. Ted asked them a few questions. He found out they were in financial trouble in their business, and he found out a couple different things about the business. But the one thing that stuck in his mind is it was a husband-wife team. The husband was a big, tall guy, 6'4", big guy. He loved to hug people. And so Ted says, well, okay, here's what you got to do. You go back, you rip down all your old signs, you throw out all your old brochures, you call yourself the Hugging Butcher. Then Marty gets out from behind the butcher desk and goes and stands at the front door, and he hugs every single man, woman, child that comes through that door. And that's it. You just follow my directions and you do this. And so what happened was that, there's this big guy that hugs everyone that comes in. People talk about this. The story spreads. They became so popular, everybody wanted a hug from Marty, that they could raise their prices anytime they want and charge a premium over anytime they want. And they were very, very financially successful with that Hugging Butcher brand. Jay Peterman, you may or may not know, but he's a famous catalog marketer, we'll call him, who is unbelievably gifted at telling a great story about a shirt or a jacket. Most clothing companies say, the size and the types of materials and so on. Jay Peterman will tell the history of this fabric, and I mean, the Seinfeld show actually had a character on there named Jay Peterman. A lot of people think that he was a fictional guy, but he was actually a real guy. Not the Jay Peterman wasn't in Seinfeld, but they made a character out of him. But he has a cult following that reads his product catalog, believe it or not. And these are not just you and I. These are people that are in, the Hollywood circles. They have Peterman catalog parties. They'd all get together and read the stories in the catalog. I mean, that's how you develop a great following. You can build a great story into your product. I can't remember his first name, but Fredding. He was a cattle rancher who wanted to get more money for his beef. And so what he said, I'm going to create a story around it. He knew, okay, there's some health benefits to wine. So he started giving a glass of wine to each cow every single day. And it changed the flavor of the meat. And of course, there was added health benefits to it. And he could charge a 50% premium on his beef just with this extra glass of wine a day. It's a great story. I mean, wouldn't you love to just tell your friends about it? You can use your product in a way that creates a story. Blendtec is that you may have seen this. They've done very, very well. They sell blenders. It's a very unsexy, very boring type of a product in many ways. Somebody once said, these are really industrious things, blenders. So somebody said, could you chew up a golf ball in this blender? Is it tough enough to do it? They said, let's see. Put it on video. Put it onto YouTube. Instant success. So then, can you blend an iPhone? And so he has a site now. You should go check it out, willitblend.com, where you can say, I want you to blend up this. And he'll blend it on video and put it up on his site. Why did he do that? Well, think about the viral part of it. His blender sales have gone through the roof thanks to this concept. And it was so simple. He just used his product in a very different way, in a very visual way that people couldn't deny. So those are just a few examples. We'll get into how you create them, but where do you use the stories once you get them? You can use them in autoresponders, right? If you do email marketing, and I do highly recommend you do. When somebody signs up for your newsletter, have a sequence of autoresponders that go out and tell part of your story. It tells your personal story, your business story, your product story. You can use it on your main site. I'm going to show you some examples of some brilliant stories used on main. And it should be, when you find your good core story that people resonate with, you have to make sure everybody knows where to find it, so everybody reads it, because it is one of your main marketing assets. You can use it in press kits. As I said, the press loves a great story, and they will give you free advertising if you have a good story. Of course, when you're launching new products and services, you definitely want your story at the forefront. Have it on your blogs, right? I write lots of core stories about myself, too. I have certain ones about my martial arts. I have ones that I tell about my daughters. I have ones that I tell about my dogs. So I have different stories that fit different things that I'm doing, and I make sure that the message gets out there. I use it, of course, Besides the autoresponders, I always love to just send out emails that are based on stories, things that I see or experience for the last day. You can use snippets of one story in other stories, and it kind of mixes it up a little bit. And, this is very much like mini Hollywood themes where little bits and snippets are taken and put over here strategically to tease people to want more information or to keep following. We went through the product packaging. Stories are great for contests, before and after type of things, and testimonials. You can create holidays and special events. This is one of the easiest things I've ever done. I have this cash flow calendar I've created that has multiple different ideas for every day of the year to create a story-based campaign. And a lot of it's based on unusual holidays that are celebrated all over the world. So you open the calendar, you pick which day you want to do a promotion, and right there'll be 4 or 5 different things that you can write a story based on. CD Baby was a wonderful company, or is a wonderful company that was sold for a lot of money, and they had a very funny, very personal note that went out with each order. And so just things as simple as that, little personalized notes with a quick story in them, can make such a huge difference. To get people back, right? Because we all try and win new customers all the time, win new customers, and then sometimes people drop off. They stop buying from you for whatever that reason is. You need to go out and try and capture some of them back. And a great way to do it is to tell the story. Tell the story of when you felt slighted by a company and you started buying somewhere else. So, being honest with them. We used to be so good at taking stories. Look at these ads from, probably 50, 60 years ago now. But look at these ads, right? Lots of text that tell great stories. Right? Look at this one for Shakespeare. In 1848, in a hut, Joseph Slips began brewing. This is how you compel people to keep reading. Right? We used to be great storytellers in marketing. And words, you don't see ads like this anymore. Everyone has this thing. Oh, nobody has time to read anymore. They want pretty pictures. It's a bunch of nonsense. A good, well-written story will always outperform a picture-based campaign. I have yet to see proof, and I'm talking documented proof, where a picture will outsell the words. So keep that in mind as we go through, and I show you some of these examples, that just because it may seem wordy doesn't mean it works. And, the whole thing, a picture tells 1,000 words. It doesn't in a selling situation. You put a picture up, and you put a story-based campaign up, and the story-based campaign will always outsell a picture. So some different fast-track ways to get your writing or your story down pat. So one of the best things I ever started doing was, and it just really got me to be a better writer faster. And it sounds weird. You may want to fight this one, but if you do it, you'll see such a big difference. So you take an ad or a letter or a story, and you just start handwriting it out. So pen to paper, not fingers to keyboard. It was proven in a big study that was done that pen to paper, it's got a different connection with the emotional side of the brain. So when you're trying to get emotions, and that's what stories are based on, you want to use pen to paper. So handwrite out successful ad letters books. What it does is it trains the brain to write like that writer that wrote the thing you're copying out. It sounds bizarre. I'll tell you, though, it works. I did it for 6 months. Every single morning, I did it for 2 hours a day. Wrote out successful ads and letters. It took my writing to a whole level. And what I did at the time, too, was tracked every single hour I did this. And so I had this little spreadsheet with 1,000 empty squares. Every hour I invested in my writing, I would spell it out. And it's a good way. You don't have to do 1,000 squares, right? I was training to be a copywriter. I wanted to be a world-class copywriter, so this is what I use. But you can just use 100 squares, and it will still keep you on track. It'll keep you motivated. You'll love seeing those empty squares filled out with X's. The Tenpenny Principle comes from a completely different industry that I've written for, but it applies to everything. And the Tenpenny Principle in sales is every time you talk to a prospect, you take 1 penny out of one pocket and you put it in the other. So by the end of the day, you want to have all 10 pennies and you build it together pocket. It doesn't change in marketing, though. Think about that. Every single time you touch a person, you want to touch 10 people a day with your story, with your marketing, and you will see your sales go up through the roof. Read lots. I mean, there's all kinds of materials out there for creating very great stories. And so make sure you're looking at the news sites and industry things and things like Google Alerts, right? Google Alerts is a free service by Google. If you're in the, let's just say, massage business, you need to be kept up to date on new trends in the massage business or new medical discoveries, and Google Alerts gives you free updates daily or weekly or monthly, whatever you want, on new things that have come out about medical research findings in massage. Watch the news sites, and then, probably what's the best thing you're going to have to start doing is, I'll think of it like journaling in a way, where you write when you're mad, when you're happy, when you're sad. You just write, and you come up with, and I'm going to go through an example of how you create little snippets, and it's like an inventory sheet for any time you need a story, you just pull this out. And I'm not going to go through this. We're going to give you access to this. I won't go through each of these, but where do you find your stories, right? A lot of people get really, I guess, lost and confused at this point, but the stories are everywhere. And I'll go through the exercise, but what I suggest you do, get a pad of paper out, pen and paper again, and just do, as you go through this type of creativity spark sheet, come up with subjects you enjoy reading about, or your favorite kinds of people, things you doodle about, hobbies, toys as a kid, things you like talking to your friends about, favorite schools. So I won't go through each of these right now, just in essence of time, but there is no shortage of good story subjects. So you write out one little sentence about anything that comes to mind, and then keep that. That's an inventory sheet for any time you need a story. You can go back through your one-liners that you wrote down and then expand on them and make them into something that you can use in your marketing. Movies and people you met and books one of the little things I've done that keeps, and it keeps on paying me back in so many different ways. When of course, I'm in the marketing field, but anytime I see a movie, a book, a business that has something unique in it about marketing or success or entrepreneurship, I write an article about it. I took my daughters about 3 weeks ago now to Katy Perry's got a new movie out called, it's less of a movie, more of a documentary called Part of Me. I didn't know a lot about Katy Perry. I didn't know she was such a driven entrepreneur. I didn't know her background. And so I really enjoyed this movie. I wrote an article about it. And so we're now at the end of the month. So I wrote it at the beginning of the month. I wrote the article, put it up there. And I just looked at my web statistics yesterday. 1,300 people have come to my site over the past 30 days by my article about Katy Perry. So you think about that. If you did one of those types of articles, why so many people? Well, if you look, it's Google picks up on Katy Perry. It's a hot subject right now with a movie out. People are going on Google searching for it, and they're finding my article on it. And they're coming to my site, reading my article. Some of them are signing up on my newsletter. Ultimately, hopefully, they buy something from me. And so you can do things like that, things that you like to spend your free time with, and then write an article about it. This is a creativity matrix I put together. It's really just an idea tool. So it's just a whole bunch of words, and what it's designed for is brainstorming, right? So if I needed a story today, and I just looked here and I see, okay, I see playground. I could write a couple different story angles around playgrounds, and it could be profit playgrounds, it could be kid playgrounds. I could come up with a number of different. It comes with practice, but you need these idea sparks anytime you're looking, and I'll share with you at the end here how you can get some of these different tools too. So one of the best things I found, and it was based on a movie I once saw about a guy that found out he had cancer, and he thought, what have I accomplished in my life? And he found out he couldn't didn't feel like he had accomplished much. So he went to recreate his life. He had a year left to live. And he said, if I wanted to create the ultimate year-long movie, what would I do? What would I experience? Who would I see? So he recreated his life as a movie. And I found that it was a great analogy for entrepreneurs, because we all think, well, we don't have any good stories. Well, make some good stories. Do something different today that you were scared of doing or you never thought of doing before, but just do it, and then write a little bit about it. Get used to that as a hobby. It's a fantastic way to start creating these little marketing assets, stories. Meditation or sensory deprivation, it's an interesting way to just start getting more in touch with the things around you. And, it may sound, a little bit out there, but I'll tell you, it works when you go off to a place where it's nice and quiet and just close your eyes and shut out the visual and just listen to the sounds. Or go to a place where there's lots of smells and close your eyes and just experience the smell. It's amazing what a smell or a sound can inspire for a story. Try and find a good story every day of the week. Just something little that you find, that you experience, that you do, that you see or hear, and just start journaling these things. And the more of it you do, the better you're going to get at it, of course, and the better you get at it, the more profit you're going to make. So here's some basics. Who are you? Why am I here? How did I get here today? What inspired me to be an entrepreneur? What inspired you to be an entrepreneur? Where do you want to go with this? Do you have a big picture goal? Start writing these stories down. These are fantastic. This is what your customers want to know from you. But entrepreneurs are so scared of sharing it. They always want to hide behind the company. And I never have understood that. People more now than ever before want to buy from real people and less from big corporations in so many different ways. They love a personal connection. Give them that person. Put your face out there. Put videos of you out there. Tell stories about your beginnings. That's what people want to hear. Lessons you learned along the way. Everybody, and good and bad. I talk all kinds of stories about the failures I've experienced. I've had a lot of them, and I make a point of trying to fail at something all the time, because that's how you succeed at things. Right? You've got to try it, and you're definitely not going to win at them every time. Tell, great story intro. You wouldn't believe what just happened to me, and then fill in the blank. You can be, if you're the reluctant hero or the underdog, or nobody ever thought you would succeed at something, tell the story, right? I'm 43 years old right now and just going for my second-degree black belt. I'm not exactly an athletic type, but I bust my tail to do that. So it's, in a way, it's the underdog, right, where I'm in there sparring with kids that are less than half my age. Do you think about this? So taking controversial stances on things, do you think about this like I used to? Be careful around politics and religion. They're subjects that you just want to kind of avoid until you're a little more experienced, and not only experienced, but thicker skin. Marketing, email marketing, storytelling, you need to develop thick skin, because you will find people that don't like that. Just get to the point, and they'll be mean to you, and that's what people are like, right? So you got to get thick skin. If somebody's mean to you, just got to move on, next. And so once you've developed the thick skin, the ability to create stories in your marketing, then you can start taking more controversial stances. And people love it. So this company here, Saddleback Leather, S-Back Leather, it's sbackleather.com is the site. Saddleback is the company. One of my favorite success stories, the guy that runs it's a fantastic guy, but he has got this on his main page. You'll see, on the right-hand side it says, in memory of blue. That tab is on every single page on his product, on his site. They sell a high-quality, high-priced leather product. And so why is a dog on there? Well, his dog was his best buddy. They traveled all over the world together and, created this business around leather goods. And when his dog passed away, he lost his best friend, so he created this tribute to his dog, Blue. And it's a long, I don't even know, like 3, 4 page, maybe 6 pages printed out. I don't even know. Tells a story about his dog and some of their experiences and lots of pictures. Wonderful story, and will put you in tears. So when I interviewed him and asked him, I said, I love your story in Memory of Blue. How many people comment on that how many people comment on that? He says, dozens, daily. So here's the story about his dog on a high-quality, high-priced leather goods site, and it's probably the most talked about page on there. People are drawn to this page, and it has built his business talking about his dog. So if you're a pet lover, no matter what kind of pet, tell stories about your pets. It goes against what I get a lot of fight back from entrepreneurs about this because, that has nothing to do with my business. It doesn't matter. It's a good story, and people love a good story. So tell your stories. This one, what I loved about this is, just as an example, is look at how simple this is. They've got like 4 or 5 paragraphs. It says, in 1988, we started our business, blah, blah, blah. It's a very short story, but they've got snapshots in there. Their feet kicked back. They're in shorts, sitting on the beach, ties in a Jeep. How simple is that, right? Every single one of us can do little snapshots about how we got our beginnings, where we've come from. I love this page. It was just a simple little example. This next one, of course, this was on breakups, but I loved her About Us page. And it starts, of course, it began with a breakup. She was deep. It just gets right into the story, and I loved it. I thought it was absolutely brilliant. And it wasn't a long piece, but it was all it was needed to compel you to want to know more. This is another one, a root beer manufacturing company that just made fun of free, and they called it freerangerootbeer.com, free-range chickens or whatever. They made free-range root beer, and they had a little fun around it, and they had a whole bunch of different things. They had fun around this free-range root beer concept. And so, if you don't want to tell stories, then poke some fun at yourself. Poke some fun at your product. And this one actually got a whole viral part to it that they just absolutely loved it. People loved it. The press loved it. They ate it up. This is somebody that went through my story selling program. Their specialty product is sweetbread, and they were doing about $500 a month online sales of their sweetbread. They created this article, What If This Sweetbread Could Talk? It's a little longer than this. I just took it up. Immediately went from $500 to $15,000 a month in sales of sweetbread, just because they told a great story about how sweetbread came about and what makes a good sweetbread different than the other. So $500 to $15,000 by one single page added on their site. A good story. This one, you may have seen these. They've done television commercials. These are these Amish mantle heaters. This is a fictitious story. They made it up, which is one option. I don't typically recommend people do that, but it's an option, right? That's what this was. Very good copywriter made this up. How do you know it's made up? Because, number one, these are not real Amish people. I'm real Amish, and I know because I've been in the Amish communities before. You would never get their pictures like this, right? So these were actors in Amish get-up. But the fact of the matter is they sold millions of dollars telling this story about this Amish man's new miracle idea. I mentioned I wanted to talk about business to business, and this was an example of a guy that sells large garbage bins, for renovation companies. And when you're doing renovations, you get those big bins dropped off. You throw all your stuff and they take it away. Not a very sexy business. Nothing really exciting about it. We were trying to get him new leads. So what we did is we got a list of 200 of the top home builders in Calgary. And so we had company name, we had purchasing manager name, and some of these are massive companies, like some of the biggest home builders here, hundreds of millions of dollars in revenue. And we created a 2-page letter. It went on just white paper, no letterhead to be seen, and went out to the purchasing managers. And I told stories. It went against everything that he thought would work, and here's a snippet. This comes straight from the letter we sent them. Second, I've got 2 great kids and a terrific wife. They all eat. Not long from now, they're going to want to go to college and university. If I have anything, I need a successful and thriving business, as do you, but that can't happen unless I absolutely wow you with my courtesy, professionalism, knowledge, and personal care. This is a very anti-corporate type of letter, right? We're talking about wives, we're talking about kids going to school, the fact that his wives and kids got to eat. And so everybody thought, okay, this is hokey. This isn't going to work. I told them, we're running it. You're going to test it. You got nothing to lose. So we sent out 200. We got 39 responses from this letter. Do the math. That's 20% or 18, whatever it is. A huge response rate to a cold list. And so why did it work so well? Here's some of the comments we got back. And remember, these are some of the biggest home builders in the world that get dozens and dozens of pitch letters. This guy says, it was refreshing to just have an honest expression of what and why you're in business. We're a family business, understand how important our kids are and how expensive college is. Your letter gave a good impression of your personal commitment to your business. You know, these guys are bombarded with professional, like corporate stuff. This was the first time they'd ever seen a personalized letter like this. I thought I had another comment, but that's okay. We had multiple comments, though, like this that said, I absolutely love this letter. And one guy said that, you know, I get dozens of these letters every week, and nothing has ever come across my desk like this. It's personal and as story-driven as this was. And, you know, I commend you for having the guts to do something like this. So 20% response rate to a cold list is exceptional. And it worked. We got him all the different leads he needed, and from there he just ran. On the corporate side, this campaign here went out to CEOs, CFOs. It was for a high-end men's clothing company. I mean, look at this, right? This is as anti-corporate as it gets. Look inside. My daddy has even crayon stick figures. I made my daddy promise that when I graduated from college, he would do something so special for you. And then on the inside, it tells the story about how his kid is now graduated. He's got the story. You come on in, you get a free suit or a free umbrella with your custom suit. His most successful campaign ever with cartoons. So if you think this won't work in the corporate world, in business to business, where you got to be professional, you're wrong. Those people need this and respond to this more than any other industry because nobody does this in that industry. So good story-based campaigns are a fantastic way to stand out from the crowd. Another example, Monsters, $18 million home. This was a 3-page magazine ad, all text, telling the story of this piece of land and a piece of property. Here's another one. One of the best copywriters in the world, now retired, Gary Bensavenga. This was the house he lived in. 13-page letter to sell his home. And really, the whole thing talked about the land, it talked about the house, and it went way back into the history of the land. I can't even remember, like hundreds of years ago, where this land was originally used for and how. So 13 pages, a $7 million sale happened in no time. So, and I think there was a couple pictures, but it was 13 pages of text. It wasn't a lot of pictures. So again, the text told the story. The pictures kind of showed some of the nicer parts of it, but the rest of it was told by a text. I mentioned when you do your little one-line snippets, your little one-line story ideas, here's how you take that and expand it into something that you can use in a campaign. So I had, my one-liners. I did a client trip to Amish country. I spent a week down there, and then I went into I turned that into a paragraph. So a client of mine sells Amish furniture. I went to Arcola, Illinois for a conference, eat in their homes, ride their buggies to understand market. So I expanded on it, and then I created like an outline. All of the different things that happened while I was there, and then I don't have the final piece, but I wrote a final article and campaign based on this on marketing and success secrets as learned from the Amish. So that's how you take a one-liner and build it into a story-based campaign that you can use, however you want, tie it into a campaign or a one-off educational piece. So some more story angles that you might want to think of too. So things like things you've discovered in the industry or about yourself or about the business or about your clients, the lost secrets of whatever. Tell stories about people that came to you unhappy and how you helped turn it around. So somebody that was troubled and the things you did to help them out. Third-person testimonials. It's a great way to build in a story, is to use a testimonial from someone else, and then just expand, include the full testimonial with their name if you've got their approval to do it, and then, just end it off and say, we pride ourselves on testimonials like this, and get into your tie-in to your offer. Tell the story about a prospect that was really hard to convince to start using your product or your service. They finally did, and now they're a true believer. Tell the story about what was the turning point. Interview them if you can. You can get them on recorded audio or recorded video and use that as a story. It's a great way to do it. Dramatic news stories, right? Right now, you can open up the newspaper, and we'll just say the Olympics, right? The Olympics are a massive opportunity for news stories. It's timely. It's something that you just can tie into in so many different ways. I'm working on one right now about athletes in the Olympics and how to use, and teaching people how to use the athletes to develop storylines. You can write about celebrities. Like I said, I did with Gene Simmons. I've done it with Katy Perry, Lady Gaga. I've done Gordon Ramsay. I've done this so many times, and I love doing it because people love it, and it gets the extra press, too. If you have a common enemy, right, and I have a guy that does, helps people with their corporate taxes, for small business corporations, I should say. And so the common enemy is the tax, Revenue Canada and up here, and then IRS down in the United States. So that's a common enemy, so you can talk about them in your stories. And you can establishing yourself in your authority, where you came from, what makes you an authority in this business, what's your background. Everybody's got a background. Why are you here today? What something is not, and realize this is different. So what is your product and what isn't your product? Because no product's perfect. And when you are actually honest about this, you stand out from the crowd. When you say, look, this product isn't for everyone. There's actually a flaw in the product. It's not designed for everyone. But if you want this whatever benefit, and you're not too concerned about this non-existent benefit, then this might be a good fit. But if you're really stuck on this, then this is, so you're being honest with them, and very rare do you see this in marketing. So leverage the negative, leverage controversy. Anything that comes up that people are always asking about, make sure you bring it up. Talk about fear and anxiety, things that are going on, scare them a bit, but be realistic about what you're scaring. Don't hype it up to the point where, oh my God, people are, get me out of here. I want nothing to do with this company. So I'm covering a lot of material here. So hopefully I think we're still pretty good on time. So I'm running a little bit over. So here is a little quick cheat sheet for story selling. I call it the plot. So their story is personality-based. You tell your story, then you link it to your opportunity, and then put a time deadline on it. So I absolutely love the whole ability to tie in a good story to an opportunity. So I'll tell a story, and then I'll say, it makes me think of something here. And then I create the opportunity, and I give a timeline. As an example, a couple years ago in April, we had a massive snowstorm. I was out going to walk the dog. I thought, well, I'll take a video camera with me. It was huge, like a foot of snow overnight. And I thought, well, I'll make the best of it. I got to walk them anyhow. So I took the camera and I did this little 3-minute video, and then I created this Mother Nature Madness special. And I still get orders for that, even though that was like a couple years ago, because the video's up there, and of course I left the sales page up there, so I still get orders for that product. So, there's it was just one of those things. The story was there. I took it. I ran with it. I created an opportunity of it, and I put a timeline on it. Although the timeline has been extended because people are still ordering. Um, some different sites for you to look for story ideas is you should always be on the lookout for it. And just start practicing this. You're going to love the results you get. Huffington Post is great when all kinds of news from all over the world. The Sun.co.uk. Drudge Report, The Onion, TMZ. If you're looking for slangs and sayings that you can use in your stories, doubletongue.org is another good site. A couple other things. Google Alerts, which I mentioned, check it out. It's free. Look in your local newspapers. Look in your industry articles. And find things that are going on in your industry and share that with people that are prospects and clients, because chances are they're not reading industry articles. Google and Yahoo News, of course, up to date by the minute. The Onion of easyinarticles.com has a ton of stories on there and articles that you can find good ideas from. I mentioned some of this, but I just want to talk about it again, where you can tie in a story base and then put it up on a blog, and it draws in extra traffic. Like I said, well over 1,000 website visitors just about my article about Katy Perry. So, and what I do is I'll interview clients or talk to experts or go to a movie or read a book, and I write about the experience. And then I put it up on the site, and of course Google catches it and other people find out about it. And how my article about Gene Simmons ended up on his site was they have Google Alerts. So they were notified that somebody wrote an article about Gene Simmons through Google Alerts. They went and read the article, they liked it, and they put it on their website. So do book and movie reviews. All of these different things are great ideas to add to your site. So your kids, your pets, life events, things that are happening, they're fantastic ways to do it. This one here, this is my blog, so you can see that, and the only reason I put this in here is one morning I was like, what am I going to write about? Well, last night I was over at a friend's place and they were doing a garage sale, and I found this box there that looked kind of out of place. Opened it up, and they were going to sell it for $2 or something, and they were these collector's plates with certificates. I told the story and tied it into a promotion. It was really simple. It's just something that happened the night before. And it went over really well. People absolutely loved it. So here's how you get good fast this is a very special offer that I've put together just for those of you on the call today. I did the story selling live coaching calls for a couple years. I turned it into a home study guide. So you get all of the recordings, you get the transcripts, you get all of the bonus downloads. Everything you get in the live coaching program, you now get as a home study. Live trading at the time was $297. I also have a bonus book, some of the best stories I found, and then what I did is I broke down the story and I said, here's how you can integrate some of these ideas into your business. The 31K Club membership alone is huge for its power to transform your business, and what it is every day for a month, you get a quick idea spark sent via email where you can read the email, write a paragraph, keep it somewhere on file. And this alone, I know I've got the testimonials not with me right now, but it has transformed so many different people's businesses just by going through the 31K Club. And what it is 31 days, 1,000 words a day. You don't have to do 1,000, even 100 words a day, and you're going to be 100 times more proficient at marketing than your competitors. So that you get that. You get the small display ads, which is a special report that I sell on how to generate leads and convert them into buyers. And then last, I thought I would throw this in as a extra bonus, is 2 years of my Wild West Wealth Summit audio recordings. And if you had attended this live, it would have been about $1,300 for the 2 years. So you get all of the MP3s, some of the best trainers on referrals, on sales, on the power of focus with Les Hewitt, on success, on you name it, we covered it in Wild West. It has created, people have taken the ideas from there, like Chris created multi-million-dollar businesses from what he learned there. So you get the MP3 recordings as well for that. So you get the story selling course, you get the bonus book, actual stories and how to use them in your business, 31K membership, lead generation report, and then all these different audios that train you on all different kinds of parts of being successful as an entrepreneur. All of that for only $97. So it's a very, very special price that I don't offer anywhere else. You won't find this on the main site at all. But it's only for those of you on the call today on the webinar. And so you go to storysellingtips.com/webinar. There's all the details on there and what's in there. And then there's a buy button. It's very, very simple. It's a powerful program that I guarantee will transform your business and make you at least $5,000 in the next year if you use it. So, you know, here's how you turn $97 into $5,000 guaranteed. So I really want to thank all of you for being here. I went through a lot of material, and you know, I think, what am I, just over an hour now. So let me know any questions or comments you have. You can call me direct, 403-259-4566. Email me, troy@smallbusinesscopywriter.com. And my blog, if you want to go check out my articles about more on this, is troysblog.com. And then, you know, last, take me up on this offer. This is an offer I have not and will not offer again. storysellingtips.com/webinar. And it's $97 for all of that, plus there's a whole bunch of extra downloads that you get for free as part of that. So some really, really powerful tools that you can use. There's a marketing action plan. There's that creativity hot sheet that I mentioned. A lot of different things in there that will help you get this going. And, you know, one good story can easily make you thousands. So when you start doing them every month, you can really transform your business very quickly. The more stories you tell, the more income comes in. I see it all the time. And so I really just want to thank everyone for, you know, listening in today and hearing all of the different things around stories that have worked for me. And I want to thank you, Mark, too, for putting this all together. And it's been an honor being here today.
Well, thanks for that. Just want to thank you, Troy, for your exceptional delivery, telling your story with stories. I found myself taking notes like crazy here. And one of the things that I just want to throw out to everyone listening on the call is that I've known Troy for years and, you know, am a client. So by way of disclaimer, and very, very pleased with the results. Troy always, again, over-delivers, and the expectations that I have come back multiplied many times in the amount of leads, traffic, and sales through his story selling technique. Again, as a client and just as an individual who enjoys following Troy and his blog and email client, I always look forward to Troy's stories. I always make sure that I spend time and read carefully. He does paint marvelous pictures with his words. He's a marvelous storyteller and story seller. And any of you that are looking to jumpstart your business, are looking for a way to differentiate yourself from your competition, I certainly would encourage you to go to storysellingtips.com/webinar and just jump on this offering that Troy has made available just exclusively to you as a webinar attendee for $97. That is a very wise investment on such exceptional value that you will get out of this, and you will benefit not only today but in the months and the years to come. So, Troy, thank you for your time and your savvy story selling, the art and science of turning your stories into wealth. My name is Mark Huber from AutoWebinarIncome.com. Thank you all for being part of this call, and we look forward to hearing your stories of your successes in the very near future. Thank you, and goodbye for now.
Thank you, Mark. Thank you, everyone.